First of all, I'd like to thank all of you, many friends here. Appreciate them being here as well. But appreciate your attendance at this press conference, in which I'm very pleased to talk about something that I've been talking about for 6 or 7 years ago. And I believe the time has come for the state of Connecticut to really move forward in a very aggressive, a very passionate, a very thoughtful, a very planful way to really take a strong leadership role. And I think we've already had some work done, and I'll be introducing Brian Garcia in a little while. Some tremendous work has already been done. But I think in order to ramp up our efforts to create a real renewable energy industry in the state of Connecticut, I am proposing, and this is geographically specific, the development of a Connecticut Clean Energy Center for Research and Development in southeastern Connecticut. I think folks have seen this vision before. I've propagated something that I wrote back in 2009 around it. And I want to be very clear here that while the preferred site, as far as my own bias is concerned, is the old Norwich State Hospital property, which is now called Riverwalk, I am interested, and I will be announcing the membership of this task force in working together with them, because I think we have expertise and people from the region and from the state to really take a look at all our options relative to this. I am interested in new construction. I have had some very hopeful conversations with Steve Strong, who is the president of Solar Design Associates out of Cambridge, who's done some marvelous work internationally and nationally in developing net zero buildings in Saudi Arabia, in California, in Washington, D.C. Interestingly enough, the Bullet Building in Seattle is also a building he's worked on together with Dennis Hayes, who is, as all of you know, most of you know anyway, the founder of Earth Day. So it is without any irony that we're having this press conference on Earth Day. And I thank Providence that we have a sunny day for it. So at that, what I would like to go ahead and do is just briefly talk about the concept, then introduce a couple of folks to speak, and then I'll be talking about the actual membership of the committee. But essentially, if we were to go ahead and do something on the Norwich State Hospital or Riverwalk property, I think, and I've had several conversations with Sean Nugent, who I'll be introducing as well, who is the chair of the Preston Redevelopment Agency. It can be very compatible with their comprehensive plan of development that they've put together, their master plan. What I'm looking at is something that would integrate renewable energy, manufacturing, and assembly center, together with, and that would be involving the manufacturing, light manufacturing of renewable energy and energy efficiency projects. I think one of the best examples I can think of right now are solar thermal units. They're currently not being made in Northeast, and this is the market for them. They tend to be heavier. So I think that's one example of one of the many new technologies that could be developed there. Together with some wind turbines. I think right now, as we take a look in terms of a comprehensive energy plan, we're certainly contemplating, and that is the legislature and the governor's office, in bringing down some wind power from Maine in particular. And obviously there are other projects in the works. So I think the idea of manufacturing some wind turbines could be another potential thing. Again, I want to stress this is all potential. The other thing that I would like to concentrate on is the development of a research and development center, a cluster that would incorporate two things. One would be on a higher education level, a little bit more scientific in nature, but really a research and development of new emerging renewable energy and energy efficiency products. I have had very brief conversations with President Herbst out of the University of Connecticut. I have had a very brief conversation with Grace Jones, who is the president of Three Rivers, who just announced her retirement. But I think there's a possibility of not only having a high-level research and development facility, but also some entry-level job training. And I would like to specifically target returning veterans coming back, together with trying to reduce the unemployment rate in southeastern Connecticut, which is one of the highest, if not the highest, in the regions in the state. Together with that, I'm also interested in going ahead and continuing to explore the possibility of doing renewable energy generation on site. With the hospital property, if that's the choice of this task force, if we move forward in that direction, there is a natural gas line there that I think could be compatible. I think that could incorporate the use of fuel cells, some solar projects. I think Senator Linares can talk about briefly some work he's doing in East Lyme proposed. And there might be some potential even for some wind generation, given it's in a river valley and that there is a hill ridge over on the eastern side of Route 12. So I think those are the primary components that I'm going to be advocating for, and that hopefully this task force will be working on, again in an aggressive and timely fashion. Again, I do want to stress, and Mr. Nugent will talk a little bit more how this can fit in with the plan that they've been working on for a long time. But at that, let me go ahead and just get into the membership, and then I'll go ahead and ask some speakers to come forward. I'm looking and anticipating that there would be roughly 12 members of this task force. I'm in a position today to announce 10 of them right now. There are a couple of other folks that may be joining us as well. But let me go ahead and just briefly, and this is in the press packet. The members are going to include, and this is by their agreement, they have all, I've sat down individually with all of them, and they've all indicated willingness to serve. John Bilda, who's the general manager of Norwich Public Utilities. I just came across an article recently where Commissioner Esty was down at Norwich Public Utilities and really spoke very highly of their commitment to mixed-use renewable energy projects in the greater Norwich area. Bruce Two Dogs Buzzum, who is the chair of the Mohegan Tribal Council, very pleased about his willingness to serve on this. As well, I think the proximity of the Mohegan facility across the river from the hospital property site makes it a natural for them to be included in this. I think there's some potential development there that the PRA, the redevelopment agency, has contemplated, including marina use and perhaps some retail, et cetera, could fit in nicely with that. Alan Brown, who could not join us, he flew in late last night, so I know he was not able to join us too. But one other concept has been considered, in addition to a living, breathing renewable energy campus that would incorporate retail and some living space, is I think there's also the potential, and these are ideas that have floated out there before and I think are in different phases of some discussion, but some advanced agricultural uses on site too as well. But that would incorporate renewable energy as part of the buildings that would house that. James Butler, the executive director of the Southeastern Connecticut Council of Governments. I want to emphasize that by including him, I'm recognizing that this is in fact a regional project. That anything that's done in southeastern Connecticut, whether it's on the site of the hospital property or anywhere else in southeastern Connecticut, should benefit the entire southeastern New London County region in terms of addressing the critical need for another economic driver down there. So I'm very pleased that James, Mr. Butler, has agreed, again, as representing the Southeastern Connecticut Council of Governments. Very pleased, and I'll be introducing him a little bit further to give us a couple words, is Brian Garcia, who is the president and CEO of the Clean Energy Finance and Investment Authority. Brian has done some tremendous work. Very impressed with this young man. He was on staff when I used to chair the Connecticut Clean Energy Fund, which is actually the precursor to CEFIA. But he gave a presentation to the Energy and Technology Committee, and I think has some brilliant ideas about how to move the renewable energy industry, homegrown clean energy here in Connecticut, financing, development, new technologies, et cetera. John Harity is the director of Grow Jobs Connecticut. Very pleased to have him. He came with the high recommendation of John Olson, who's the president of the AFL-CIO, and really is taking a look at, again, manufacturing, particularly in the renewable energy sector, in order to create some jobs. Very pleased to have Senator Art Linares agreed as well. This immediately makes it a bipartisan, bicameral effort. with a stroke of one appointment here, if you will. And it also brings two freshmen into trying to get some stuff done for the general southeastern Connecticut. So very pleased with Art, and I'll be asking him to speak. Sean Nugent, who I have tremendous respect for, is also going to be a part of this. I met with the Preston Redevelopment Agency and explained this and I think Sean's expertise and background from a scientific perspective, his work, previous work at Pfizer's, his work nationally in terms of physical buildings and the development of campuses, I think are critical to this. So I think he brings not only his role as a chair of the PRA, but also his broad, wide, and very deep experience in a lot of very major projects. So I think their connections that he has are going to be very helpful. I also want to say that Roger Smith has agreed to be on this, who is the co-director of the Clean Water Action, together with Elise Willer, who is the legislative organizer for Working Families Party. The thing, both Roger and Elise bring some strong environmental advocacy to this project. I think will help keep us honest as we move forward, which I think is critical. But even more importantly, I think they both are strong advocates for us to take a look at energy efficiency as a real strong component of any energy policy that we have. And I think all of us are aware, people have been involved in this field, is that the most logical and sane approach to energy policy is, number one, don't use as much, which is conservation. I think that's the first component, and that's ultimately the cheapest approach to energy policy. Then if you're going to use it, is energy efficiency. And if we're going to use energy, then to use it in the most efficient way. And then you bring on the renewable energy.